How do I tell my dad that I'm too depressed from the relationship drama between a possessed human and a fictional goat to watch Heroes with him and my brother later? Deltarune Chapter 5 was the most peak thing since, peak. I'm not exaggerating when I say I'm not normal about Chapter 5. I mean, I expected a lot after Chapter 4's very increased story weight and production value, but man, I need to vent this post-chapter hype / depression. I mean, it's my channel, and I'ma do what I want. So, we start with our long-hyped festival sequence that has been brought up frequently since Chapter 2, and just like the latter moments of that chapter, it's mainly focused on the self-contained character moments, specifically between Susie and Noelle, and I think that's what elevates this entire part. Even though the main plan continues on from Chapter 4 to get into the shelter, that mainly takes a backseat for the relationship stuff, and hey, it's fan service for the violent shippers at the end of the day, though I have bared witness to some of the meltdowns the factions, communities, have had over this part, but the Deathseal folk keep winning at least. I want to talk about Deathseal sometime in the future, stay tuned for that. The lake scene is nice with that context in mind, along with what it does for Noelle in both routes. This is the only time I'm going to mention the weird route in this video because my knowledge is limited at the moment from not playing it, but both routes seem to give Noelle a moment of liberation, but under different circumstances. Both revolve around doing something crazy. The main route is doing something crazy with Susie, solidifying their relationship in the process, while the weird route uses the same terminology, but with Chris, and it feels more like a breaking point from the past chapter's events, of manipulation and stuff. And the abrupt side B ending that marks your safe arc, Undertale's genocide route, is suggesting of a darker turn when doing this route in the future. But that's about all I can read and comment on with what I know about it so far. I know I'll have to push harder on it in the future to really understand the wider scope of the game, but let's quickly move on to the Flower Kingdom. So with the Flower Kingdom, we have a much more light-hearted setting than the dark sanctuaries from the last chapter. The lead up to this was marked by Toby calling this one last fun adventure, presumably to give a moment of levity before the story gets darker again, and playing through this made this make a lot more sense. It feels like we have an entire world here that's built on Chapter 1 nostalgia. Yes, we're getting nostalgia for 2018 now. The similarities to the field from the garden are pointed out as remember our first adventure, like it's a bloody Hollywood flick. Yet it feels like the game knows this at the same time. I think of how Toby Fox does things like this, and it's very obviously self-aware that, again, it really will be the last chapter which abides by the loose formula we've seen so far. Especially now that we know that Chapter 6 will lack all the staples of all chapters prior, like the shadow crystals or the egg segments. And I'm still holding out hope for my own personal Depths of Mementos theory, where Castletown is the final Dark World, and it's a big-ass dungeon, and the world's merged. We fight God, and then I'm getting ahead of myself. The Cliffs, on the other hand, they simultaneously brought so much new DNA to the chapter, with its platforming mechanics, which caught me so off guard when I first played it. It's like the zing of Toby Fox's stuff mixed with Hollow Knight's gameplay and the aesthetic of Celeste. I mean, it's the coming together of what I consider as the holy trinity of modern indies. It's insane. I love this. The lighting here just screams increased production value. Hell, it even looks like that one level from Celeste. It's so good. I even looked deeper, and apparently on console the border changes in tone with the lighting. Like, I get this is the first Dark World where lighting is an actual factor, but my god did it go hard. And also, to graze this part of the game more, props for not dropping Chapter 4's climbing mechanic. I think literally any other game would have just used the climbing for Chapter 4 and have dropped it after that, so props to Toby Fox for keeping it around. Now, based on the timeline of my playthrough, most of the chapter is based around the Flower Castle. I mean, 1, it's split into 2 parts, and 2, there's an entire mechanic revolving around connecting to the humans at the foyer, so I don't think I'm wrong for that assumption. Sometimes it can feel imbalanced with how much we see of humans, Aqua and Seth throughout the first couple of areas, well, the cliffs mostly, and Asgore's aura moments come on quite late, I realise. But I argue that it's evened out by the sheer expansiveness of the castle, allowing for each pair of humans to have their moment and play off of each other well, so that when we approach the end and Asgore is so distracted by his own obsession with the Dark World to care about the humans representing the flowers he kept alive for all that time, I was on their wavelength enough to care about it. In case you were wondering, Seth is my favourite of the humans. Like, I love my chaotic nerd type characters. They speak to me. They make me laugh. Let's go on to the gameplay now. Yeah, the gameplay still slaps. The regular battles still have your standard style that we've seen across the previous chapters developing, and yet I've always found myself surprised at the ways it's developed for some of the bigger battles. Like, how about we just echo the Omega Flowery attacks for all the humans? How about we just make Seth throw away with the mercy we give them, literally? How about we just make an entire Ace Attorney segment for Yellow's battle that's built on the evidence you collect in that segment, and it sets the same Ace Attorney-inspired themes from Undertale? God, I'm playing so hard into this fan service you think I'm past the problem. This really comes to a head during the chapter's secret boss, Pink, which is an anime slash Hatsune Miku slash DDLC I think, but I don't want to seem like I'm LARPing inspired segment, which I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This was the most fun I've had through the entire chapter. Like, the way the Purple Soul's mechanics have developed here goes arguably harder than for the Green Soul, though that part's innovations are mainly revolved around the attacks, so it would be stupid to compare here. Just this battle is amazing visually, mechanically, almost as much as Flowery's battle at the end, which is now my due to mention that Flowery is perfect for this chapter. Not only does he fit in tonally with the rest of the world, but he's also basically Rauzai if he didn't give a crap about anything. He is so indulgent in the Dark World, which plays off of Rauzai's cautiousness so well. This is a good time to segue into what the chapter does to my fascination with Deltarune's deeper themes. Now, I'm currently planning a bigger video on that stuff, so I'll keep things simple for now, but the combination of Asgore's fascination with the Dark World and Flowery's distinct attitude towards the Dark World shows a doubling down on that stuff. Firstly, a lot of the chapter goes on about how this is Asgore's perfect world, and I mean, it is a perfect world visually and aesthetically, yes, but it echoes a lot of attitudes about the Dark World seen at the end of Chapter 2, one of my favourite moments in the game. The moment that prompted Rauzai to explain Auroring, the event which is basically the consequences of opening too many dark fountains, hence creating too many dark worlds. Flowery sees that attitude and goes, but what if you can just let Asgore be happy? And that does a lot for the grander narrative, I think. It takes that small piece of Chapter 2 that's haunted the narrative for nearly 5 years now to think of it, and turns on its head so much. I also like it when Flowery tells Susie about the concept of statistics before Rauzai can explain them, like he does for every Dark Road concept, of which he uses like he's some insert Gary Sue type, giving himself max stats in every category. It's so funny. He's so funny. It definitely seems that Rauzai constantly being rage-baited by him is starting to break him from the looks of the fire spell he uses near the end and his conversation with Flowery that I really like, because on one hand, I really think he's gonna lose it at some point, but on the other, that scene with Chris shows him coming into his own a bit in this chapter. Like, he wants that happy ending despite the prophecies and some of the other events of Chapter 4. He wants that happy ending with Chris. God damn it! Okay, as an emotionally repressed Rauzai going on Reddit after this to be blasted with several Arc-based images did not help me recover at all. They're responsible for my post-chapter depression phase. I'm going insane over this. In fact, speaking of Reddit, and at risk of outing myself as someone who uses Reddit too much, I've seen a few common criticisms that this chapter, acting as that one last adventure type, is negatively affecting the overarching narrative, because now we only have 2 chapters to resolve the Roaring Night mystery box, the Chris Soul conflict, and any other narrative haunting theories that I might not be that passionate about to touch on here. We're definitely starting to see a lot of this theory stuff be turned on its head, so I can understand if the fandom may be approaching a bit of a breaking point of how little game there is left. I say that and the next 2 chapters will be 10 hours each or something. I think after having Chapter 4 dump all that extended prologue stuff where you navigate Noel's house as the Soul, definitely raised expectations for those points. However, I would argue that Chapter 5 was never meant to be the place for that stuff, and it wasn't frankly deserved to be a chapter which continues to double down on the deeper theming and characters of the game. This take is more in line with my opinion on Chapter 3, which I've previously put forward the case for being my favourite thematically, even if it lacks the highs of the chapters surrounding it. It gives a window of interpretation for some of the troubles of the Dreamers through the use of Tenor being traumatised from the family falling apart and the world moving on without him. I can understand if you wanted more questions to be answered or wanted heavier moments to hit harder, but if we didn't have chapters like this, I think it would make the simplicity of Chapter 1 look out of place and even obsolete, like a pilot episode per se. What I'm saying is, despite the mystery box, Toby Fox is not J.J. Abrams. The mystery box is not the whole picture. God, now you got me imagining Chapter 7 if that was the case. Right. One last thing about the chapter, and I've been saving this for last because this culminates some of the aspects I've been fixating on narratively, and I think sets up the final act of this story intriguingly. Let's talk about Susie. When I first played Chapter 1, I hated Susie so much. I mean, I know I was 13, but she was in hindsight an asshole, but that redemption arc about learning to show mercy throughout the chapter and connect to this world felt good to see, but after that, it felt like it started to take a shift. Throughout the previous chapters, she always talks about these dark worlds as their adventures. When the night comes around, she mentions how their adventures are about to get darker from there. The final prophecy in Chapter 4, the written ending to all these adventures. She vows to not let happen before presumably spending a night in the dark world preparing for the festival. It may seem like I'm overthinking things, however the whole narrative has been building towards those flaws from the first chapter still being there but nullified by this over-connection to the dark world. She obviously sees herself as the true hero of the story, and in a way she is, for once she isn't the one opening the fountains. But that view of the hero comes at a cost, and it's the same attitude towards Castletown that Flowery has towards the Flower Kingdom. It's just not as upfront until the very end, where Chris takes her home, not to her home in Hometown, but Castletown. She wants to bring Noelle into their fantasy world, because now they're presumably together, she wants it to be her perfect world as well. In a way, it proves Flowery's point, that in the end it may have just been to protect their fantasy. At least for Susie. Spoken like a true hero, Susie. I know I've hinted at this throughout the video, but these final moments are the heaviest hitting thematically since the second chapter. What was an adventure to lift spirits left me with more thoughts about this game, more emotions about this game, more theories about this game than ever. What I'm saying is, I think something big is about to happen in Chapter 6. And as a community, we need to prepare ourselves for whatever comes next. Mainly because the way this fandom is going, we're gonna be the cause of the next conformity gate at this point.